What's going on, guys? My name is Sakha, and in today's video, I'm doing something different. I am starting an interview series where I'm going to have guests, top insurance agents and agency owners, and people just in our space from all over the country on my YouTube channel, because I feel like I've dropped everything I could and can about my blueprint. And it's about time I get other people, other experts in this industry. And what better person to have to talk about his story, how he got started in the insurance industry, and everything he's done than the person that got me started in the insurance industry. He's one of my best friends, my brothers, my mentors, one of my colleagues. His name is Duran. Will, thank you for being on my channel.
Hey, thanks for having me here, man. I really appreciate it.
So, for those of you guys that don't know, me and Will's roots go back. We're family friends. He worked at a Subway. I got a job at that Subway. He actually didn't even give his stamp of approval on me. That's a whole different story. But we started working together. He leaves Subway to go start a career in banking, a successful career, which I'm sure he'll get into. And then one thing leads to another, where he starts his insurance agency ownership journey. He opens 2 offices. And today opens up, or now owns, multiple offices, potentially acquiring another one, as well as a Subway franchise, which it's funny because it's full circle, where it was part of our roots, and he always said he was going to open one, and now he does. He might even go after multiple Subways. I'll let him go into that. But Will, thank you so much for being on the show. And by the way, he's only 33 years old. So if it's not for him, I'm arguably not in this. I'm not an insurance agent. I don't own multiple offices as well. I give him a lot of credit, and he deflects it. He always says, he always says that's all because you made it happen. But Will, besides me, talking up your whole entire story, I want you to tell everyone watching a little bit about your story and how you got started in the insurance industry.
All right. Well, it was, working at Subway. We were working there. We're kids, man. I was, started there, I believe, when I was 15 years old. And then, was in high school working there. Just, would go to the bank, make my deposits in there. It was always U.S. Bank for some reason. Because it was right there in the parking lot.
Right.
And, just started, walked in there and just applied for a job. I didn't even know. I was 18 years old, graduated high school early by 6 months. And there was something in me always as a kid to where I wanted to work at a bank. It was just like, having to dress up, wearing a suit, wearing a tie. There was just something about that as a kid I just really liked. And every single time I'd walk into a bank, it was always, dressing nice, and it was professional. So when I was 18, that's like the first job that I applied for, was at U.S. Bank. And I went inside there. It was just that branch that was in the parking lot at that Subway. It was full. So I remember the branch manager calls another branch down the street and said, "Hey, I got someone here that, they're looking for a job." And had the other branch manager on speakerphone and was like, "Does he seem like he's good?" And she was like, "Yeah, no, he comes in here all the time." So it was crazy because after that, we had an interview set up within the next week, and just walked inside there, had my interview, and then just started out Banker One. I had no idea as far as what I was doing, what it entailed. All I knew was that I was working at a bank, and I thought it was really cool. I was making $12 an hour, which is,
a lot back then.
That was a lot of money
Right.
back then. I was working at Subway making like $6.75, so
Right.
that was a pretty big experience to go from working at Subway to working at the bank. And working there started off as Banker One. And if people don't know, Banker One is you're working in the grocery store. So we worked at the in-stores, what they called it. And you were pretty much like a hybrid. So you were a teller and you were a banker at the same time. So you would have to, do the customer transactions, but you also had the customer in front of you. And through that experience, being like a Banker One, it just so happened I worked with the banker at the time, because in banking you're ranked as far as your sales and how
What's your first real taste for sales? Because banking is really a lot of sales.
And that's what banking is. And it just so happened the branch that I worked at was one of the slowest branches in the entire city of Las Vegas. But there was a banker there, and he was the top performer in the entire district at the slowest branch. So it would just so happen that I was working with him, and he would be like, okay, so this is how you do checking accounts, this is how you talk to customers about credit cards. He only worked there for about a week, but I told myself, looking at the stuff that he was doing, I was like, I know I could do this. Like, I would just think about the conversations that he would have. So being a banker one and having to be ranked on a scale from, like, you know, how many points you get with checking accounts, credit cards, and everything, I just did really good. I just always held myself to goals and expectations as far as what I would do that day when I would go to work. And what that did over time is it helped me excel my career, because I wasn't somebody who went to college or you know, that was something that I wanted to do. My thing was just, if I do really good at this, I can move up, because I know that I can hold myself accountable.
Yeah.
And I did.
You were always a problem solver. You know, when we worked together at Subway, you were solving problems. You know, we were competitive even in Subway, figuring out how to get more sales. Like, we did, you know, this many sales today. How do we increase our sales, right? Which is funny because we didn't get incentivized for that, right?
Yeah.
Then you go into a position where you actually get incentivized for it. I remember I'm still at Subway. Will comes in and he's like showing me the rankings, you know, the banker rankings. He's like, look at me, you know, look, I'm number one already, you know, and then, and it's really cool, man, because anything you put your mind to, it just sounds like you're really intentional about it, and then you excel. Because I'm going to fast forward your banking journey, because you move on way up the ranks, way up the ranks in banking.
20 years old, I'm a branch manager. I mean, I'm not even old enough to drink yet, and you know, I mean, I was just top in the district to where they just kept promoting, and then the responsibilities got more. So yeah, 20 years old, branch manager. You know, just real quick, I mean, they put me at one of the worst branches in the entire district, and they were just pretty much like, hey, let's see what you can do. And within like the first quarter, I what they called at the bank at the time was a quarterly pinnacle. I quarterly pinnacled the branch, so it was.
You had a track record. You were turning branches around. This branch sucked. You go there, boom, you turn the whole thing around. They even give you multiple branches.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't do that to just anybody.
Yeah, I had two branches. I had they were right down the street from each other. One was one of the top performing branches, and that branch manager had gotten let go, so they didn't have anybody to fill that position. And they had came to me, asked me, and I was running two branches at the time.
And he was crushing. One of the things that Will did really, really well in banking was developing teams. You developed really strong teams, and these individuals that worked for you, they came in as just regular bankers. They went on to go become branch managers.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of them went on to go become branch managers. They had a proven sales record, and you were a part of that, you know.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as you would always say, they made it happen, but you were the common denominator as to why all of them went on to become branch managers. And, you know, I have a question later, because you took that same kind of skill set and you did it here. You know, you recruited and developed successful, you know, independent insurance offices like myself and and four other individuals, which we'll get into. But okay, so what happens in banking?
So as far as
like how did you get into insurance? What you're crushing it in banking, and then what happens between banking and insurance?
So the funny thing about banking is you meet a lot of very interesting clientele, because you're helping them every single day. So you're meeting people that come in, business owners, you know, people who work downtown, a variety of people. So, you know, you just have conversations with multiple business owners, and you know, you see what kind of lifestyle they're living and how they come in.
Their bank accounts.
Their bank accounts, exactly. And you know, there was just somebody who, when I started at you know, the first branch that I worked at, he was an Allstate agent, and he would come in all the time, real chill guy. He would always see as far as my my awards, because at the bank they give you these awards when you had like, top quarterly sales, and I had like 8 of them just sitting on the back counter with my name on them. So he was I was a co-manager at the time, and he worked in insurance. So he had actually tried to recruit me back when I was a co-manager. Yeah. So it was something that I went to go have the interview with him. I talked to him. He wanted me to work for his agency at the time. And that was something that it always kept something in the back of my mind with insurance. And, I had the interview with him. I went to him, checked his office and everything. But at the time, when you work for a corporation, you always think like, well, you know what? I have the benefits. I have a career path here. Working for an insurance agent, like, that's pretty risky. Mm-hmm. So even though I had the opportunity to make more, it's just I was working at a corporation. So at the time, my mindset was, you know what? I'm going to be from a co-manager to a branch manager. And when you work for a company, like, that's the way the mindset that they put you in.
Yeah.
So I had had the interview, but it was something that was always like in the back of my mind with insurance. So, just went through the process, became senior manager, all that stuff. And then after 7 years of working for a company, you give the company your heart, your blood, your sweat, your tears, everything. And, it can just be taken away. And unfortunately, that's what happened to me. Was working there for 7 years, walk in one day and, hey, you're just not here anymore, Will. And, that's just a dagger to the chest. And, during that time, I really didn't know as far as what I was going to do. I took about 6 months off just to collect my thoughts. I had got a job at another bank, and I remember going through training, being there.
You took a huge pay cut, right?
And I took a huge pay cut. I'm going to work every day, and I'm just absolutely hating it. Like, I'm thinking, man, like, look what I had. Look what was everything that was going on. And I'll never forget, I go to the manager, and I ask her, I say, hey, like, I'm worth more than this. Like, I'm a really good employee. Like, I can show you guys what I have to offer. And she was a new manager to this branch. So she had just taken over the branch. She goes on vacation for a week. And right before she goes on vacation, she's like, hey, when I come back from vacation, I'll have an answer for you as far as if we're going to give you a promotion or put you in a different position. So I waited a week, and then after that, she comes back from vacation. I let her get settled. I let her, go through her desk and everything else. And I'm already hating this job so much. In my mind, I'm like, if something doesn't happen right now, I'm just going to quit right now. So I'm sitting there at the desk. I type up a letter of resignation just in case. So I'm wearing my suit, and I print out the letter. I go grab it off the printer, and I put it in my coat. So then I go knock on the door, and I sit down with her, and I say, okay, so you had talked and said that when you come back from vacation, you would have an answer. And she said, well, we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to give it about 6 more months. And I was just like, okay, I worked at a bank before. I know how this works. And then to work here, I just wasn't happy. So I took out the letter, put it on the desk, and said that, well, you know what? If you can't make a decision, I'll make the decision. I'm just going to leave today. And so I took my keys off, and then I handed them to her. I mean, she didn't know what to do. And I didn't know what I was going to do after. I just knew that I didn't want to be there. So I'm done with that. I tell her, I remember, I'll never forget this. I tell her, I'm like, she's like, is there anything you need to get? I was like, let me just get my notary stamp real quick from my desk. And then so I grab my notary stuff, and I walk out, and I say, all right, bye, everybody. They were shocked because they were like, no one does that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm walking to my car, and at this point, I had not worked at a bank for, I don't know, from my previous career for about 9 months. And so I'm walking to my car, and I just look up, and in the parking lot where this bank was that I was working for, there was an Allstate. And it just so happens that brought back the interview that I had with the insurance agent at the time. So I just figured, you know what? That guy seemed really cool. I'm going to give him a call and see if I can get it, see if I can work for him. Because why not? He was offering me a great opportunity. So I still had his number saved on my phone. And I call him. And so he's like, hey, Will, like, what's going on? Still remembers me from the bank. And I was like, hey, man, you know, how's everything going? Are you still looking for somebody to go to work at your agency? So he's like, yeah. He's like, come down. Come have like a conversation. He's like, I got time. I don't have time today, but I got time tomorrow. So I was like, okay, all right, cool. Having no idea as far as what this was going to entail, how it was going to work, how insurance was going to work. I mean, that was probably at least 4 years ago when I had interviewed with him. So the next day, I get ready, I go over there. You know, I go like a banker. I got like my whole suit, my tie, everything.
He's over here like, what the hell are you wearing, man?
Yeah, he's over here like, you know, polo, like jeans, and like just real
There's
chill.
a big difference between how bankers dress and how insurance agents dress. Insurance agents are the chillest dressed people.
So I show up in like this nice suit. I go sit in his office, and he starts just talking to me. And, you know, I tell him like what was going on, everything, as far as like I want to do something different. This is what happened within banking. And so we're there for probably about 2 hours just talking about everything. And at the end of it, instead of him offering me a job, he tells me, he's like, Will, he's like, I would hire you, but you would get bored. You need to be your own agent. And at the time, I mean, that was risky. I just lost my career. Now I'm going to take a risk into being a business owner and become an agency owner. So he showed me some of his financials as far as what you can make as an insurance agent. And I'll never forget this. He shows me one of his annual bonuses. And, you know, I'm expecting something that is like comparable to the bank. So he shows me his annual bonus, and I look at it, and I'm like, I kind of have to like rub my eyes a little bit, 'cause I'm like, is that, you made that's 1 month? And he was like, yeah. He's like, dude, you're gonna do great. Like, I saw what you did at the bank. He's like, he tells me, he's like, just don't make me look so bad. And I was like, dude, that's not gonna happen. Like, I mean, we're cool. So that was my start with insurance. From there, he sends the text message to our sales leader at the time, and I meet with her, having no idea as far as what the business entails. And from there, you got to get your licenses. I mean, you have to show capital.
At the time, it was only $25K, right?
At the time, for me, I think it was lower. I think it was $18,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
To give everyone perspective, it's really not. It's really like $100K nowadays.
Yeah. So it being
we kind of got lucky, both of us. Because if it was $100K, do you think you would have done it?
You know, I think about that, and I don't think I would take the risk, because that's a lot to start a business and put $100,000 on the line. Yeah. Versus when I started, they had this thing that was called the Hub. Me and you both started there, and you would work in this office that Allstate leased. They would pay the rent, and you would pay Allstate. I believe it was like $500 or $600 at the time a month for your rent, but they would give you. They would supply all the furniture, but you'd still have to buy like the computers, the printers, all that stuff. So, I mean, it's a 6 month process from that conversation that I had with the insurance agent to actually opening the doors. And I mean, that's a scary process within itself, because you have to get licensed. You have to pay for everything during that time.
I never forget, man, when you took me to Fry's Electronics to buy all my computer equipment, and I handed over my credit card. I had to buy my printer, my computers. I handed over my credit card, and I was like, they had to like rip it out of my hands. It was only like $3,000. It was like I probably spent like $3,000 to $5,000 on it, but it's yeah, you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So for those that, I mean, just real quick, because I think there's a gold nugget here. For those, from everything that you know now, would you do that? Would you spend $100K, or would you risk the $100K to do it all over again?
Yes.
100%. Okay.
100%. Yeah.
For anybody that's watching, if you are in a different situation where the capital requirement's a lot higher, you know, for us that have, you know, gotten over that hump, it's worth the investment. But it's not just that easy though, right?
And I think it's mindset as well. And the reason why I say that is because at this point I had, you know, worked for a company for 7 years, and then boom, you're done. This was literally, my back was against the wall. If this didn't work out, I don't even know where I would be today. So it was I have to succeed at this and be successful, or either I'm going to have to figure out a lifestyle to where everything that I'm used to is just going to be completely like gone, and I have to figure out, just, you know, bankruptcy could have been an option at that point, because you truly don't know. So I would say, as far as like having my back against the wall and really having to just know that this needs to succeed, I have to be successful, and having like that little bit of fire to know that I have to just make this happen. I have to make sure I develop a team. I have to make sure that I grow and we hit our sales goals, and utilize everything that I've been taught over the years. But now this is on me, because if we're not successful, it's not dependent on anybody else or any circumstances. I mean, at the time, Allstate's rates were some of the highest in the entire, were like the highest in Nevada. Right.
So I do want to talk about something. So, you know, you start your insurance office, you go on to crush it. You really changed Nevada's paradigm, because at the time, no insurance office had sold over 100 items or insurance policies in a month.
I think at the time it was like 60. No one had ever sold, because back they counted items, which, I mean, they still do, but it's not. It's more about premium. But it was items, and no one had sold more than 60 items before in a month. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, but you took that killer instinct that you had from banking, because you did this in banking. Like, you took bad branches and made them successful branches. You saw, you know, man, everybody else here is like putting up pathetic numbers, and you go on to crush numbers. It's you and like one other person that are doing it. Yeah. But even that person's kind of asking for your advice on how you did it, and you know, and things like that. But so you changed the paradigm. One of the things that I want to talk about is, you know, you attract, I wouldn't even say you recruited, you attracted 4 or 5 other people to open up their own insurance office as well, right? And myself being one of them. And you also train us on, you know, how to be successful. We're blowing up your phone. I'm calling you almost once a day, you know, during that time frame. And the biggest thing that really stands out to me, and maybe some of the listeners, are that you blazed your own trail. You didn't have a mentor. You figured it out yourself. You know, and I know that you're a spiritual person, so you're going to give God all the credit.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, it's all God. I mean, none of this is me. I mean, God just gives me the ability to make it happen.
Right. And so you make it happen, and you didn't have mentors. You blaze your own trail. I want you to talk about that. I mean, if somebody's listening and they're like, I don't have the resources. I mean, I don't have those mentors either. Yeah, they might have a couple YouTube videos. They might, and people in their town or state might not be willing to share their successes. If that's how it is in their environment, what's your advice for those people?
I think it comes back down to those days when I first started at US Bank. It's going to have to come back down to the bank, when I would wake up every morning and knew exactly what I needed to do. And it's nothing as far as, you know, you could have mentors, you can have people that tell you what you need to do, but ultimately at the end of the day, you're the person telling yourself what needs to get done. And it's just having that determination, because when I had lost my career at the bank, it was a lot of my friends didn't talk to me because they were still employed there. So they were worried to even reach out to me because they didn't want them to be in a position to where they could lose their job.
Right.
And it's just having that having that focus and just knowing as far as what needs to get done on a daily basis.
What I'm getting at is winning the day.
And you really can't, there's a lot of people, because especially when you start something, people are like, oh man, that's risky. That's something as far as, wow, like a lot of people, you're going to hear a lot of that.
Oh yeah, that's a saturated market. Everyone's doing that.
Oh, I had a friend that was doing that, and it was really hard for them.
Yeah.
So you just have to tell yourself just to just not focus on any of that, and just know as far as what you're going to do every day and how you're going to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
And how you're going to have your team hit that goal as well, because your team is a reflection of you. And if you're focused on your goals, then ultimately you're going to be successful, because you are a reflection of your team. And if you're going to hit your goals and you're going in there every day and you're telling them, guys, this is what we need to do, this is how it needs to get done, then it doesn't matter what anybody else says, because you're the person that's creating your own plan. And you're going to make it happen because you know what you want to do. So, I mean, not having mentors or, influence and everything else, it's that you are going to make yourself your own mentor when you have nobody. When you look behind you and there's no one there, you have to do it yourself.
Would you agree that people know what they need to do? They're just not doing it? Because you say, I wake up every day and I focus on what needs to get done. I ignore the noise, I block out the noise, and I focus on what needs to get done. What if people are like, I don't know what to do? Do you think that that's an excuse, or people know what they need to do?
I think people know what they need to do, but they make excuses for themselves because they're not necessarily in a situation to where it's like, if this doesn't work, then they have nothing left. And I think what it takes is you just to be in a position or something to where you're like, man, I have to do this. Like, this has to work. Yeah. There's no other option. At this point, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get it done. So could it be excuses? Could it be lack of motivation? I think ultimately only the person knows. Because, I mean, you see so many things where people try to diagnose it as far as like, oh, this is what you have to do, this is what it is. You have to stop lying to yourself and just get it done.
Right. Okay. You kind of touched on it, so I don't want to ask this question that I had, but I do want to touch on this because this one's huge. I know that one of your best qualities, whether you realize it or not, is your ability to lead. You're one of the best leaders I know, right? I say that because you led me into this industry and you've led several others, and we're all successful, right? Yeah. And now we're all so successful in this industry, and we're diversifying now, right? I'm tapping into YouTube, right? Brian's tapping into real estate, and you're tapping into other ventures, right? Which I want to ask you towards the end here. I want your strongest quality is leadership, okay? And that's a great quality to have. What advice do you have for our listeners what advice do you have for developing people or developing leaders? Because in growing our insurance office or our insurance business, or just influencing those around us, it takes leadership. What's your advice on developing people?
So I would say the biggest thing with leadership is believing in your team and hiring the right people as well. But you have to believe in your team, and you have to make sure that all of you are winning. Understand what their dreams are. Understand as far as what makes them come to work every single day. If you understand your team and you guys are all achieving your goals and you're helping them develop in their life personally to where they've never had somebody let them know that they can actually be good, or they can develop in a category and grow and be better than what they've ever thought, then at that point you build a team to where you are unstoppable, because people want to work for a leader and someone to where they can help guide them and put them in the right direction. Not to where you come to work every day and this is what you have to do. This is the reason why, like, I need to hit my goal. It's just, guys, I really want you guys to get your bonus. I really want you guys to succeed. I want the team to do great. And by understanding my team, understanding my employees, it's helped out because they have done things that they never thought they were possible of achieving. And you do stuff like that, you're going to earn people's respect, and they're going to want to work. They're going to want to be there every single day and be successful because maybe they've never had anybody tell them that they could be.
Yeah, that's powerful. Okay, so that's good. I don't even need to elaborate any further on that. I know that was some gold. If you had to give a new producer or agency owner three, and I hate like, what are your top 3 tips, right? But if you had to give, let's start with a new producer, right? If someone's watching this and they work for an office, what are 3 tips for them to be successful? What would they be? And then after that, let's talk about those same 3 tips, but for an agency owner.
So this is just on insurance or business in general?
Yeah, in insurance.
In insurance, I mean, the top thing is that as easy as this sounds, when it comes to insurance, get your license. That is the number one thing because we have so many people that come through the doors and they want to do insurance, but getting their license is the hardest part. So if you're going to really take insurance seriously, I would say that is step 1. Because even being an agency owner, our first step is to get licensed. We can't even be appointed with the insurance company that we work for unless we're licensed. So that's tip number 1. Is you want to get licensed because to have to take a test, I can tell you right now that was like the biggest factor for me even becoming an insurance agent is because I had to take a test. And I've never been good at taking tests.
Yeah.
So, if my back wasn't against the wall and I really had nothing else, even taking a test is something to where it scares me. So you have to ask yourself, am I willing to take a test, study for it, and be involved in this career? That's probably the first one, yeah.
Okay. What about the other 2?
The other 2, I would say, know how to create goals for yourself. Know how to just, when you come to work every day, you know exactly what you have to do to get done. And it shouldn't come down to your agency owner telling you what your expectations are, or, we need to do this. Of course, they're going to tell you that stuff. But you have to have the drive yourself to hit those goals.
Right. Okay. That's a good one. What about the third one?
The third one is just stay focused. Just stay focused on what you're doing because there's a lot of confusion out there as far as what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be doing it. Just know as far as what your goals are and your expectations are. Because I feel like in today's world, with everything that we see, there's just, people have all these different options, and it causes people to just lose focus of the reason why they're doing something. So stay focused on what you're doing and be really good at it.
Yeah.
And if you do that, no matter if you stay in insurance or you do something else, if you stay focused, you stay driven, and you know what your goals are, you're going to achieve it. You're not going to make excuses for anything.
Right. Absolutely. I'm over here laughing and smiling because you told me this for a very long time, right?
Yeah.
I'm in banking and I'm trying to do all sorts of things. I'm trying to do network marketing. I'm trying to do Forex, currency trading, right? I'm trying to, just do the most, go to school, get my degree, and I'm literally sucking at all of them. And you keep telling me Nick, why are you delivering pizzas on the weekends? Like you have this opportunity to make this money in banking. in your commissions and stuff like that. Focus on that. You told me that for the longest time, and I when I finally dialed in on the one or two things, that's when I started crushing it. That was a life-changing thing for me. So that's a really good third tip is just the power of focus.
Yeah,
100%.
And that ties it all in, is having that focus.
Okay, I got two more questions for you, bro. What was the biggest lesson that you've learned in business?
Is that it would be,
and you're still learning. I mean, I think we're both still learning.
And I'm still learning, is that you can have great teams and you can lose great teams as well. Due to situations that are completely out of your control, are things that they do to where it's just unacceptable within your agency. So having to build teams based on factors that you necessarily don't control, I mean, but they're hard decisions that you have to make as a business owner. So that really impacts your team. So I would say being an insurance agency owner, owning a Subway franchise, it's just keeping those teams together is very hard in today's world, because right now there is so much mass competition in the marketplace, and I feel like a lot of people are just not focused on what they need to do. So it's just another factor that makes business a little bit harder right now to keep those teams and to keep them motivated and to keep it going.
Yeah. Craig gave me really good advice on something very similar to that. He's like, you're a Chargers fan. He's like, 5 years ago, what'd the team look like? He's like, Phillip Rivers, Tonio Gates, you had a lot of players. Are those players on the same team anymore? And I was just like, this year, are they on the team? And I was just like, no. The whole team's different. And he's like, you might get lucky with a Phillip Rivers, get 18 seasons out of him, but not all teams are always going to change, and you just got to get used to that. And that was
and that's a hard
that
part too, because you build teams, you want them to do great, and
you feel connected to your teams.
And you feel connected to them. You really feel like, I want them to do really well. But we can't control outside factors or what happens in their lives, or you could see somebody to where they have really good potential, but it comes back to the same thing. Are they driven? Do they really want this? Are they focused on what they're doing when they come to work every day?
Right.
And I would say that's the hardest part, is as far as leading a team, leading people, is you have very high expectations for them, because you've built that relationship with them to where you want them to be successful. And then to see it either fall apart or influenced by something else, I would say that's the hardest part.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. All right, last question before we wrap up. I want to talk about kind of what's next for you, right? I know that we've talked a little bit about this, but just kind of, as far as the way your mind works and everything, what's next for you? Or if you could start a business tomorrow, what would that business be? I think I know what they are, but I want to know what's next for you.
Yeah, so I would say as of right now.
Actually, real quickly,
yeah.
What's really, really cool, and what I want to highlight before I forget, is the man that got him into the insurance business. Things might go full circle once again. We're crossing our fingers for it.
Yes.
He might acquire that. He might acquire that business, and that would just be a really cool story. Obviously, we're not going to hold our breath. I mean, with these mergers and acquisition things going on, they may happen, they may not. But if it happens, I think it would be really freaking cool if the guy that your original inspiration. You own his business, right?
That would be awesome. Yeah, that's the goal. Yes.
So what's next for you, man?
So for me right now, currently, is I love insurance. Insurance is the foundation of everything that I have right now, and it's helped me get a Subway franchise and help me just be in a great position. So the next thing I want to do is, I'm really focused on commercial real estate right now. I want to buy my building that I have my businesses in, and then pay myself rent instead of paying somebody else. So in the next like 2 to 3 years, what I want is my own commercial real estate that I own, and I have my Allstate and a Subway right next door to each other. So that's what I foresee in the next like 2 to 3 years is, of what I want, and where I want to be. You know, every opportunity that comes up, I mean, I always look at it, and of course, I mean, I want to do more. I mean, if there's more Subways and there's a great opportunity for one, I'll definitely look at it during that time. If there's another Allstate, then, I mean, at that time, I'll give it some thought.
Yeah. I know you've been looking at self-service businesses as well, laundromats.
Self-service, yes.
Self-car washes.
And, I mean, you know, there's a saying, if you really don't know it, don't invest in it.
Yeah.
So I really want to do some more research into it, but those businesses are something that I really am doing some research in. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Awesome, man. Will, how can people find you on your, either social media?
They can find me on Facebook or Instagram. My Instagram is The Real Will Duran. And then you could just look me up on Facebook, William S. Duran III. And yeah, you guys can find me on there.
Give him a follow. Check him out, guys. Will, I really appreciate you for being the first guest of this series that I'm doing, where I'm interviewing insurance agents all around the country, successful insurance agents all around the country, hopefully to give you guys inspiration and ideas on how you guys can be successful. If you guys tuned in this far, I want to say thank you guys so much. If you got some value, leave a comment, destroy the like button, follow us on our social media platforms, and until next time, peace. Hey guys, just want to say thank you so much for all your support of my YouTube channel. I really hope you guys are getting some value out of this. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe, as well as check out all of my other videos on entrepreneurship, self-development, and insurance. Again, my deepest gratitude for all of you guys. Thank you.